Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Speedrun Insider. My name is CJitsallGewd. Thank you so much for joining me this week and every week. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Do all the things that you do to keep the podcast free and clear so that we don't have to make decisions based on an algorithm. I want to thank everybody for all of the love and support for SStat 2021. This episode will be airing during the second weekend of what is a 2-weekend speedrunning event. If you haven't checked it out, if you haven't heard about it, go over to speedrun.com/SStat, SDAT 2021. That's speedrun.com/SStat 2021. The schedule and the link to the Twitch where it is being held will be going on. You can go check out that marathon. If you're listening to this after this podcast has already come out, and it's like after a week, then you can go check out the VODs on the Twitch channel. That'll be twitch.tv/speeddocs, SPEEDDOCS, twitch.tv/speeddocs. Without further ado, the moment you've all been waiting for, my guest for today has PBs out to J, the apparent god king of men and 2D Zelda games, and he looks pretty damn slick with those gunners on. It's the one and the only TGH. How are you doing, my friend?
Hello, I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm living the dream one day at a time. I'd complain, but who'd listen?
That's how it is.
Right? That's all you can do.
Yeah.
This is an episode that's been in the making for a while. I'm going to tell the audience a little behind-the-scenes story. We're going to peel back the curtain for just a minute. To longer than I think you might think. So,
yeah, I'm ready for this. I've been told there's a story that I need to be told, and I'm ready to hear it, I think.
For context, Amber Cyprin was on the show. That is your partner.
Yes.
And I told them the story, right?
Yep.
And I was like, you let me know if this is like, if Jay was going to react good or bad to this. And they were like, oh yeah, you got to tell the story. You got to put this out. You got to do this. So, all right, cool. All right. I know that I'm in the lane. So I reached out to a bunch of people. This happens every couple of episodes, like every 10 or 15 episodes, because I record in bulk. Mm-hmm. We get to a point where we don't really have we don't really have guests kind of in the queue. And so we have to kind of recharge. And I usually take the pulse of the audience, and I'm like, who do you want to hear from? And they give me a mix of people that are their friends who they think would be interesting and people that they don't know but would really like to hear from. Mm-hmm. And you fell into the second category. So I was like, okay. And this is like, I'm not saying that like speedrunning doesn't bring us together, but there are a few people who are a little above my station. I can't just pick up the phone and call TGH. That's not how it works, right? We're like in different pools. It's not like I can't go to your pool, but it's like we're in different spheres of influence. It's not like I don't have the gamer phone, right? So I was like, okay, how do I get a hold of TGH? And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try Twitter DMs. And so I DM'd you on Twitter, and I didn't hear anything back. And I got a little disheartened. But the reason I got a little disheartened is because we have to go back a little bit further to like June of 2020.
Okay.
I was planning the original Speed Docs-a-thon, and I had a rule. And the rule was, because everyone was like, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to get it done. You won't be able to plan a charity event. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I made a deal with everybody and myself. I said, I will go until the first person tells me no. Right?
Yeah.
I will go until someone tells me they will not help me, they will not do something for me, or they will like tell me to go screw. By the time someone finally told me to go screw, we had a marathon already in place. So it was really lucky. But I was like, if I could have any run at any time in any place, I would love to have TGH doing to like 2D Zelda, like Link's Awakening or something, in the final build up to the end of the event. I would love that.
Oh wow.
I was like, if I was building my dream event and my final day, my last 8 hours, who would I have in there? I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and then I put that plan into action. And I got a good chunk of it. The people I wanted, not necessarily the games. The games were cool, but the people I wanted. And then we ended and it was great. And I'll never, that feeling of planning the original SStat will never go away. However, you did not have Twitter DMs open at that time. So I messaged you via the email in your Twitter profile. And I never heard from you.
Oh, okay. So this was when? June 2020?
Yes.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that by that time, I was, I think my email was what it is now, which is my AFK Creators email, which does not actually go to me. I don't know if it did go to my business email, like my actual personal email, then I am so sorry I did not see that. If I had seen it, I probably would have at least responded.
I'm gonna read this email.
Said, like,
I'm gonna read this email, and you can tell me if this is the business email, and JR, you can blur it out.
Okay.
You can bleep it out. Is your business email?
That is it, yes. And please bleep that out, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, JR, bleep that out. No, that's the one I messaged.
Okay. I actually am currently logged in to my email. So what's the topic of the message? You wouldn't happen to have it on hand, would you?
Yeah, hang on. Let me pull it up.
Because I can search for it.
If you type in Speedoxathon.
Yeah, June 22nd, 2020. It was not opened whatsoever.
Dude, he left me on red.
I'm honestly at a loss, and I'm so sorry I never responded to this.
Don't be sorry. We got the story out of it. What was so funny was I asked Amber to be on the show, and they said yes. And then they went into the request channel that we had going, or whatever we had, and they were like, "Oh, not to like name bomb or whatever. It's like not to like what's that called when you drop it? It's like name drop. It's like you could get Jay on." And I was like, "I already asked him."
And you were like, "Oh, that guy that never responds to anything."
I don't take it that personally, but I was totally like, I'm ready for this. I'm like, this is gonna happen.
In reality, I'm just really, really crap at communicating. And yeah, that's definitely my bad.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good. So I now that we've touched base on, hey, listen, you can atone by submitting to SStat 2021. I'm kidding. You can. I'm not gonna tell you no, but that'd be amazing.
No, I was actually just looking at it. I was looking at the speedrun.com page for the marathon, and was looking at some of the submissions, and I noticed you had no Zelda.
We have.
What the hell's up with that?
We have a remarkable 33 runners who are pending submissions.
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's a really good number of runs, but like no Zelda?
No. There are people who I've talked to who are like, yeah, I'll submit later. And we're up to up to 30 people. I'm like, you're killing me. You're giving me agita. I'm gonna die of heartburn. I have no Zelda. I've got no Mario. I've got no Pokemon. Please submit Zelda, please. Oh my god. I'll get on my knees. I'll sing Sunrise and Sunset. Oh my god. Thank you. I want to talk to you. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to cover. I want to start with talking to you about golf, which I didn't really understand. I didn't know that you did golf. You told me that earlier. Talk to me about where does golf come in, right? Like, how do you get started, like as a young lad playing golf?
Well, I mean, my dad got me started playing golf. I was super young. I was like 5 years old when I started.
Wow.
I was very, very young. Like my dad used to go to the driving range, and he's a left-handed hitter, and or golfer. I don't know. Like I just I said I want to do that, and I ended up mirroring him because I ended up being a right-hander. Like I ended up just mirroring him and at the driving range and just kind of mimicking his movements, and it was just kind of all downhill from there. I fell in love with it as a kid, and I played all through school, through high school, through college. I was a collegiate Division 1 golfer. I turned professional when I was like as pretty much as soon as I graduated from college and started trying to play in professional events, and realized like actually pretty short of the way through that the lifestyle itself just wasn't for me. Like I don't know if I ever had the ability to like make it as a professional. Like there's a difference between being a professional and like making it as a professional, like either on the PGA Tour or just like, you know, making enough money to survive as a professional. Like you can like you right now you could declare yourself a professional technically. But
Is it just that
that's
simple?
not to say that you what's that?
Is it just that simple? I can just be like, yo, I'm a pro golfer right now.
I think technically yes. Like I think there might be something else you need to do. Like you might need to play in like one or two like events or something. Like I don't even remember, honestly. It's so far removed from my life at this point. But but yeah, I mean technically you could, but there's a huge difference between that and making it, if you know what I mean. Like it's just like but yeah, I realized that the lifestyle wasn't for me because I would have had to depend on way too many people. And one of the first people that I ever like had that sort of like relationship with, like I'm talking about like sponsorships. They kind of like left me high and dry, and I realized I couldn't really trust people. I realized I couldn't trust people, and I realized that if I would have, you know, if I would have kept going, I would have had to keep relying on people, and it's just like I don't want to do that, and I also didn't want to be like a burden to those people either, because like, you know, it's I just didn't want to have to rely on other people's like finances. And golf is an expensive sport. Like even if you know get like I managed to get like my clubs and equipment and everything for pretty much free because of, again, sponsors, but just it's still an expensive sport.
Yeah, for sure. The thing about like, you know, golf, like they say like soccer is the most accessible sport because all you need is the ball.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think about like soccer, like, you know, football and like basketball, right? Basketball, you need a hoop and you only need one really, and you need the ball. You just need a ball, right? If it can fit through the hoop, you can play.
Yeah.
Then you start getting into more like, oh, you got to live in a certain kind of zip code if you're going to go to the driving range, right? Not to get too socioeconomic with it, but it's like clubs are expensive. Not a lot of people know that. Everything about it is expensive. Even the clothes you have to wear are expensive, right? You got to wear like the golf clothes, the golf shirt, and the khakis. You know, it's like you can't go out on the green with sneakers on.
It depends on the course. Like, you know, like people like some courses, like, or especially private courses, have dress codes to abide by. But you know, you can go to most public courses, I feel, in like a t-shirt and jeans and sneakers. Like I feel like most public courses don't have a problem with that, but you know, in like the upper echelon, it's like you really do have to wear like a specific type of thing.
Yeah,
and
I'm also imagining the public course that has like the grease stain, like the grass is all dead. It's like, man, everything.
There are plenty of those. I've played plenty of those.
I believe it.
Yep.
So there's an interesting thread that I want to kind of tug on here, but to set it up, I want to go to so you're 5, you're at the driving range with your dad, you're doing the golf thing, you're mirroring him. And then I usually find that gamers of a certain age started pretty young. So when did you start? What games did you start with? And just playing, I guess. And what are the ones that stand out the most in your memory?
So it's actually really funny because my dad introduced me to golf. Really, my mom kind of introduced me to video games. Um, when I was I don't even know how old I was. I was around the same age, honestly, when like my mom and I used to play the original like Super Mario Brothers 1 and Zelda 1 on her NES back when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. Um and it's just that introduced me to video games, and then I was never competitive in any sort of game until I graduated college and like pretty much stopped playing golf at that point. So that was when I was like 21, 22 years old. So that's when I got into speedrunning. Like I've been speedrunning for maybe 5 or 6 years, and like it's weird because when I stopped playing golf, I really needed a vice to sort of fill that void of like, competition, because like I used to be a super competitive person. I still am, but not nearly as much as I used to be. I've realized that there are way more important things to worry about than competition. But so basically, so yeah, my mom got me interested in Zelda 1. Zelda 1 was the first video game I ever played, I'm pretty sure, actually. So it's funny,
Oh
like
wow.
just last year I actually got to speedrunning Zelda 1 for the first time. And yeah, it's sorry, I'm just trying to like remember like way
Yeah,
back, because like this was a long time ago,
sure.
like over 20 years ago. But yeah, like it's funny because I never really like played a lot of video games until I finished school, really. Like I was a very casual uh video gamer, if you will. I was very casual up until I finished college, and then like once I stopped playing golf, I just needed to fill a void, and it developed from there. And then I realized that, hey, like speedrunning kind of fills this void, uh, and just from there, like I don't know, like it developed. It sort of transformed from a means of competition to a means of like self fulfillment, and like sort of like, and that just kind of became like growing my community and streaming, and I started to take streaming more seriously, and just I don't know. It's and sorry, this is a very broken like sort of relaying of information, but yeah, it's hard to give it all in one go.
Yeah,
It's hard to like give it all in a chronological order. But
sure.
yeah,
Let me.
go ahead.
So one of the things that I'm hearing, I didn't really feel like I knew the answer. I feel like I have a better idea of the answer to this question now than I did a little bit ago. But you do. It sounds like you really put a lot, if not everything, that you had into being like doing golf, right?
Hmm.
Like, and if you're gonna do a sport seriously, I mean, the golfers at my school, I mean, you know, something that maybe people don't understand because I know a lot of people don't really get down with golf. You gotta walk, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of walking. At least in my high school and in my college and the people that I know, they don't let you take the cart.
Nope.
You gotta walk it. That's part of the game. Is you
Nope.
have to walk to your ball.
Yeah, you have to
So
walk and you have to carry your own golf bag.
yes.
Yep.
So that's part of the game. That's a lot of cardio. That's a little bit of working out. And like I know again, a lot of people probably don't know golfers outside of like Tiger Woods. And we don't really talk about Tiger Woods that much because of but like it's hard. I mean, it's really like nearly impossible to master it. Why do older people get really into it? Because they have nothing but time. They have nothing but time, and it's like the game of like clearing your head, right?
Hmm.
But then it doesn't work out. And I know what it's like to lose something that organized in your life, kind of like quickly. Maybe not overnight, but you come to that realization you don't have it anymore. That's a big hole. Or not hole, but maybe it's like a big gap, you know? Like
Hmm.
it's like you don't have that thing anymore. You don't have golf anymore. And then video games kind of comes along and filled that void like you were saying.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you start speedrunning and then you're off to the races. What is the first game that you can really remember speed running where you felt like, okay, I can have success at this? Everyone kind of fools around. You know, they let go. They do a Super Mario Bros. Run. They're like, oh, I can get a no, I can't get a 5 minute, bruh. I can't do it. They fool around. They get out on the court. They're like, I can do like I can do like a Ocarina of Time, a Super Mario 64. Ain't happening. Nah, I got dumb fingers. They do a Pokemon Red or Blue or Yellow run. It's like, nah, this isn't it. What was the first speed game that you did where you felt like you really had success early on?
Yeah, for me that was definitely Undertale. Like Undertale was like funny enough you mentioned Pokemon Red Blue. I started with Pokemon Red Blue actually, like Red Glitchless and Blue No Save Corruption. I started with those. And then I moved on to Undertale, which I had played casually and enjoyed. I was a little bit late getting to Undertale, and by late I mean like maybe 2 or 3 months late.
Mm.
I played it. I played it for the first time I think in October of 2015, and it released in September. But uh, so yeah, Undertale. I remember starting with pretty much strictly the True Pacifist speedrun, which was the longer run, and at the time it was almost 2 hours. And it was a more technical run than Pokemon, but I enjoyed it way more, and it sort of helped me. It sort of helped me like realize that hey, I just kind of enjoy more technical runs. Like once I get past like the initial learning curve, but yeah, that was the first experience I'd ever had with a game that I felt like really truly like competent with as a speedrunner, and that just sort of got the ball rolling.
So then, what what translates what translates from Undertale that kind of informs what games you're going to go to next, right?
Okay, so Undertale has a glitch. Like okay, so a lot of people like know that Undertale is an RPG essentially, and like where you don't really and especially the true pacifist run, you don't really fight anything. You just kind of like make friends and spare enemies. Uh, so you might be wondering like where's the tech in that? There's a glitch in the overworld, or at least like it's way more advanced now than it was when I was running. But you use an item called the punch card, which is actually really funny. It's a joke item. It's literally a joke item. But there's a frame in between where you select it in the menu and where it pops up on the screen, and you can use that frame to do a lot of things. And then once you get rid of the card on the screen, it allows you to move around. And that was the basis for the glitch. So like basically everything you're doing is technically frame perfect in that run. At least in the overworld, like every bit of thing that you skip is technically frame perfect, and I really enjoyed that aspect. Like I was running since before this, but like I mean, Undertale was hard. Like Undertale became uh probably relatively like I don't want to say like relatively easy compared to the games I run now or the games I ran immediately after, but it was still, it was it was really challenging to me at the time. With like the bullet hell aspects, and I would die to like Sans or whatever, or I would die to like just one of the harder bosses. I would find that a real challenge to get by. Like, and it made me realize as I improved, like, hey, okay, this is how improvement works in these games. Like, this is how improvement works in speedruns. And just it made me realize what I was capable of, like, or at least it got me closer to realizing what I was capable of with other games too. And that translated over. The next game I learned was Link's Awakening DX, or Zelda Link's Awakening DX, which I actually learned for a 12-hour challenge way back in December, I think, of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first Zelda game I learned, and it was very much the same thing. It was very much the same sort of deal, where I struggled a lot at first, which it's okay. So going back to golf for a second, going back to golf, I played golf all my life. So I didn't really remember like far along in my golfing career, if you will. I didn't really remember what it was like to really struggle at something. Speedrunning kind of brought that feeling back, like to struggle and then like get better at something. Speedrunning brought that back, and it's like that with every single game you ever start to run, you ever start to practice. With that in mind, I was able to like that revelation was able to like help me realize that, hey, uh you can improve and get good at any game you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those two games together really made me realize like just how like just that's what speedrunning is like, and I got hooked on that even more from that.
Yeah, I can definitely see, like, we made the joke earlier that we made the joke off air earlier that I did, like, boxing and like other things, and it's like, oh, that used my head, and you did golf, and that uses your head, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really reflective, and like maybe your approach to it is like, okay, I'm bad, how do I figure out and get better? My approach to everything is to go through the brick wall. Is like lower my head and go. I'm gonna do runs. I'm not gonna look at anything. I'm not even gonna look at strats. I'm just gonna do it. Then I'm gonna find out why I'm slow. Then I'm gonna find out how they're going so much faster. Right? It's just like brute force every
Yeah.
problem.
There's a lot of that. There's still a lot of that. Like there's a lot of using your head in both what do you call it? Both contexts there. Like it's a little bit of both. Like sometimes you have to break through the wall, and sometimes you have to really think. And it depends on the game. It depends on your own like personal skill set as well. Because like like despite the fact you can improve at pretty much everything, or at least I think you can improve it at anything you put your mind to. Like certain runners all still have their own certain skill sets.
I mean, it's definitely true. People don't have an people in general don't have as much of an appreciation for the people that like go through the wall. And this is something I learned when I was in high school, or my teacher told me this. He said the first person through the wall is always bloody and looks like an idiot because they just ran through a wall. They just went through something that people didn't think was possible. They look crazy, right? Like,
Hmm.
think about like a speedrunning obstacle. It's like, oh, Abney doing like, the trick on Chaco Mountain, weather tankos, right? He's going to be 3
Yeah.
out of 3. He looks insane. He spends all of his free time trying to hit this one trick. It's never going to happen. Then he hits it, and everyone goes from like, and he was bloody after that, right? Because he spent months doing it, like
Oh yeah. Yep.
hours and hours and hours of his life. That's his life. That's the only life he'll ever have, and he spent a significant chunk of it doing that, right? Everyone's like, and they were on board with it while it's happening because everyone likes a good car wreck. But then he opened the door because he showed you could do it. It's like
Hmm.
Tony Hawk in the 900. No one had ever done a 900 before Tony Hawk had done one. People, the best skaters in the world, couldn't do it. The day after, someone did one. The day after he did his, they were doing it because they saw that someone could do it.
Yep.
There's a barrier that your brain puts in place. It's like, no, that's where the line is. You can go just right up to it, but you can't cross it, right?
Hmm.
So there's definitely something in speedrunning where you have to be willing to cross that line. We have to be able to cross that line.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times that line is self-imposed. In fact, almost all the time it is.
Yeah. Isn't it? It's like we're all putting ourselves in like a box.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you hear at the end of every PB? I think this time is possible. I don't think this time is possible. It's like, bruh, we don't know. You don't know. It could be, Famous last words, this run will never be beaten.
Yeah, there's if it's not like going into theoretics or going
Yeah.
beyond theoretics, then yeah, absolutely, it's possible. Doesn't mean it's probable, but it is possible.
I knew you very well when I first started watching speedruns as the Link's Awakening DX guy, right? For better or
Yeah.
for worse. That's how I knew you.
I mean, sure, yeah, that was one of my Link's Awakening DX. Honestly, is it's kind of my baby. Honestly, like with in terms of speedrunning. It was one of my first, and it's one that I really cared about at first, and then I've recently come back to it like less than a year ago, and it's a lot different now, but it's still the same game. It came back pretty quickly.
I think that you and I have a unique experience that we might share in that we had a game that we both loved, right? You loved Link's Awakening DX, it's your baby. I loved the Pokemon Snap, right? I love that game since I was a
Yes.
kid. Love that game.
Yep.
Then they announce they're doing Link's Awakening DX, or whatever remake. They're making the remake for the Switch. I don't know what the
Yep.
title is.
I know where you're going with this. I think.
Yeah. So it's like you're filled with like joy, right? At the prospect that'll be good. And then there's this little bit of doubt in the back of your mind that you're trying to not let it take over. Like it could be not as good, right? It could be just okay. Talk to me about the experience of getting the remake or the remaster for the game that you love and what your feelings on that game are.
Okay, so the Link's Awakening remake, and I know that you were gonna talk about like Snap getting remade as well, or not remade, but like there being like a new, a newly made Snap, which I didn't see coming. I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't see that coming.
Gave up hope years ago. We all did. If they didn't make it for the Wii U and they weren't going to make it a mobile game, why would they make it for the Switch? Right? Like that's like why would you do that? Anyway, so
it's awesome that they did though. But anyway, sorry to go off topic, but yeah, like okay, so Link's Awakening Switch is wonderful. It's awesome. It's such a faithful remake to the original. I enjoyed every bit of it casually, and the speedrun is really great as well. Any percent can get a little bit tiresome though with tricks. So there's a trick in any percent that was so bad and so like so influential to the time of your run that we ended up making a category that bans it. That category, that trick is called the Hinox warp. So it's a really it's a frame perfect trick. It's all frame perfect. Hinox warps are, but so you take damage on the same frame that you get grabbed by one of the Hinox enemies in D2 or Dungeon 2, Bottle Grotto, and God, what are the names of the dungeons? My God. Dungeon 7, Eagle Tower, and Dungeon 8, Turtle Rock. So you have these Hinox enemies, and we have specific setups for all of the Hinoxes now in any percent, where you take damage on the same frame, and he will throw you across like time and space to the instrument, to the very end of that dungeon.
Okay.
You do this 3 times in the run. The one in Dungeon 2 only has a 1 in 3 chance of even working. The setup is actually super simple for it, but it has a 1 in 3 chance of working. He has to throw you in a certain direction. The one in Dungeon 8 is just straight up frame perfect with a setup. And you have to hit both. You have to hit the bomb and the arrow. You have to fire a bomb arrow at the wall to damage yourself as he's grabbing you, essentially. So you have to hit 2 buttons at the same time on the same frame for that trick. And in Dungeon 7, which we do after Dungeon 8, actually. We do Dungeon 8 first. In Dungeon 7, Dungeon 7 is the infamous one, the setup that we have now, and this went through several iterations of questionable human viability to do, but the first instance was double frame perfect with absolutely no sort of visible indication to tell that you got the first frame. So you could end up like spending the extra 10 seconds to set up the second frame and not even know that you messed up the first. That to get on top of the wall, like Link's Awakening Switch is a crazy speedrun. But yeah, it's wild. If you haven't seen one, you should look at one. But besides for just the Hinox warps, like there are so many other things. But so yeah, it was like it used to be like double frame perfect. Now it's only single frame perfect. But you lose at least a minute and a half if you fail it, and that's at the very end of the run.
That's awful.
So yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, especially if you're like me and you like to grind speedruns for like the best time you can.
No, that's terrible.
So yeah, it's like, hey, and actually my current PB, which happens to be the record for any percent right now, my current PB was an unbelievable run and then failed that trick in D7. I missed it by a single frame. And if you miss it by a frame, the one in Dungeon 7 is actually pretty unique because you have a 3-frame window to actually get warped, but a 1-frame window to get warped to the specific room you want, which is the instrument room, right? The other 2 warp you to the boss fight. So you spend at least a minute to a minute and a half doing the boss fight, and then you leave and do the instrument. You get the instrument from there. So the problem is how long the boss fight takes, and that's why you want to get that 1 frame. To if you're going for like as good of a time as you can, you want that 1 frame, and it's just like super devastating to miss it that far into the run. So that's why that to me is the reason why the Switch version probably will never be as good of a speedrun as just Link's Awakening DX to me.
Did you like it as a game?
Oh, I did. I absolutely did. I loved it as a casual experience. Like I got chills just like at a lot of different parts, especially the intro.
That's so amazing because you spent so much time in that world, and
to see it reimagined like it is, it's really, really cool.
I remember when I saw new Snap for the first time. Like I don't watch trailers. I really go out of my way to not like read reviews and blogs and stuff because I'm like, I just want my opinion to be my own.
Yeah, right? For sure.
And I don't watch movie trailers anymore because they give away the whole damn movie in the trailer, right? So if I watch it, I'll watch it once. I don't watch the extended cuts. I don't go out and read the dirt sheet or whatever. No. So I went into Snap totally blind. I knew a little bit. I knew we saw like the beach level, and I like had a few things, and I didn't even know any of the Pokemon over there. I didn't look it up.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling I got playing that game was the feeling I had playing that game for the first time as a kid. Just like, what is this? Because I also haven't kept up with Pokemon since like Gen 3. My last Pokemon game really that I played was like that I played seriously was Ruby and Sapphire.
Oh, so you've got all these new Pokemon.
Yeah, so I'm like,
along with
this? What is that? Is that a Pokemon? Like when did they add this big bear guy in? Like this is like so cool. I'm like, oh, they got the snow. What's this dude? This is an ice cream cone Pokemon. Oh man, and he does the thing. He does this cool thing. And I'm like really having a great time. And my friends are like, eh. And it's not a fun speedrun, right? Pokemon Snap speedruns, the original, is like a comfy, if you have no idea what you're doing and you haven't played the game in 20 years and you're like, okay, I need to beat this game, you can beat that game in an hour, right? It's not like you can figure it out. I have faith in you, the listener. Yes, you, not you, the guy behind you. Yeah, him. I believe that anyone listening to this can get an hour time in that game, right? Just like pull out your cell phone and do it. There's not a lot of content to do. And now you don't even have to get 100% of the Pokemon. Before I knew what speedrunning was, I did it in 45 minutes, which not knowing any of the strats or anything, just doing it. It's like, okay, 45 minutes. The current game, if you have no idea what you're doing, it's like 3.5 hours.
And
it's so slow and it has so many dead spots. There's 8 minutes of waiting for every like big boss thingy. It's like, oh no, this isn't it. This ain't it, Jack. I don't know what it's got to be, but this can't be it. Like, it just can't. So I'm glad that your remake, sequel, long lost game that you never thought would happen came true. Do you think that they'll ever remake or do over Oracle of Ages and Seasons in the same style?
I'm hopeful, but there are other complications that exist with
Such as?
those. Well, the Oracle's games were made by Capcom, and not
Mm.
Nintendo. Link's Awakening was made by Nintendo. So there exists that sort of complication. I don't know what like that actually means as far as like, you know, whether or not they have the rights to remake that at all. But I'm pretty sure that's actually a factor in like, you know, exactly how much of a chance that there is that those games will be remade. Who knows? Honestly, who knows? I was hopeful for them to announce it at one of the recent directs, but yeah, I
They're
don't know.
they're giving all the shine to Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword HD, yeah.
And then, you know, everyone will be wanting another 3D Zelda. Not the next direct, but the next one you'll get a 2D in it. Because people will be like, oh, is this gonna be Ocarina of Time again? And it's like, nope. We're gonna give you a 2D Zelda game. And it's people are gonna be mad, but then it's like a bunch of people are gonna be like, okay, cool, we got something new, we got something new. This will actually come out.
I feel like Breath of the Wild 2 will hold people over for 3D.
You know?
I don't know.
I hope it does. I think that Breath of the Wild is a really fun game, and it does so and doesn't do any of the things that it would have to do to be considered a Zelda game.
I agree for the most part. I think it's still like there are certain parts where it does still feel like a Zelda game. Like you can still tell it's a Zelda game even though it might not feel like it.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like in the milieu of a Zelda game. Like it has like the set pieces, and it
Mhm.
has like it says the right things. It talks, walks, sounds, and smells like a Zelda game. But it like misses on some of the things, right? It misses
Sure.
on
Yeah.
some of those like finer points that kind of give you that real feeling. Um,
I can't disagree with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 2, if it's gonna be true to Breath of the Wild, would follow in that kind of plan. However, there's a part of me that'll be disappointed if it's kind of like we Fortnite the map, you know, like we wrecked the fucking thing. You know, like
Yeah.
we cataclysm. We put the battle bus over here now. I'm like, dude, I don't want that. Like, I get it. I don't want you to make a new map, but then they add the verticality, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing Skyward Sword for the first time. When we're recording this, it comes out like at midnight tonight or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm looking forward to playing it for the first time. People have warned me that it was not a great experience. Some people love it. The people that love that game love that game. The people that don't like that game will let you know why they don't like that game. I'm optimistic, honestly. I mean, it's a 3D Zelda game. I mean, what, you know, how is it going to let me down?
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
I didn't play Zelda when I was a kid. My parents thought that Zelda was too hard for me. I don't know what that says about them or me. They thought it was like an adult game because they like saw my brother like get his ass kicked by Ganon, and they're like, "Oh no, you can't play this." So they gave me like Yoshi's Story, which swings in the other direction, like so like an overcorrection, right? But I really like I never played Zelda, so I don't have the nostalgia that Zelda people have. That people that played Zelda when they were kids. I don't have that built-in nostalgia for it because I'm like, this is an experience I've had as an adult. And like I played Ocarina of Time like last year for the first time. And it was really cool. I can't stand Navi. And like some of the stuff doesn't feel good. But it's really good. I mean, it's a game that I had fun playing, and it came out, 15, years ago. So that's got to stand for something. So I don't know. I'm really optimistic about the new games that are coming out. And the only other thing that I know is that these games will work.
Yeah.
Like, they will come out. It's not gonna be like Cyberpunk, right? I know when I buy like a Nintendo game, it works. It might not be the experience I want, but they're gonna give me an experience that works. As you've gotten older, do you feel like you just want that more like reliability in your life? That's how I
Uh,
feel.
as a speedrunner, that's a hard question to answer. I feel,
Sure.
especially as a speedrunner who runs Zelda and who has a bit of a history of just glitching the hell out of Zelda games in general. So, like, I mean, sure, like, I want a casual experience to be nice and to feel nice and solid, but at the same time, like, I almost want games to be like breakable. Like, I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question,
I
if I'm being
want you
honest.
to have the glitchy experience that destroys the game and lets you do ace and whatever. I want you to have that. As the host of this podcast, I want you to know I want you to have that experience. But I also want to be able to load the game.
Yeah, precisely. And I mean, you're gonna get that, obviously, but yeah,
Yeah.
as a casual player, you know, I want solidity for
Yeah.
sure, just as anyone else would. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Something that you said in the beginning that I kind of wanted to like flesh out more on, but we had to talk about other stuff first. You said that you realized that it was going to be hard to like this was not a thing that you were going to be able to do because you're going to have to rely on other people. And it was not something that you really could make a living doing, right?
Yeah.
Like I hope I'm putting words in your mouth. I believe that's how you said it.
No, that's pretty much exactly what I said. Yeah.
Talk to me about how speedrunning fits in because I think that there's a group of people in this speedrun community who think that being fast at video games pays the bills more than it does. Maybe, just maybe.
No, that maybe is a definitely, for sure. I feel there are a lot of people who like, like, I'm fortunate enough to stream for a living, but that certainly does not mean that I'm making bank, as they say. I'm like, I'm getting by for sure, and I'm extremely fortunate and extremely thankful for the people who make that possible. But like, it's just that, it's just getting by. It's I don't know where this misconception came from exactly. It probably came from a bunch of things, but like, streamers my size do not make that much compared to somebody with, like, honestly, like, even a minimum wage or slightly above minimum wage job right now. But
Mhm.
uh but yeah, that's all I really have to say about that.
Sure. I mean, someone in a minimum wage job is also in a position that, you know, they kind of don't want to be in. So at least there's the freedom of, decision in your life.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, don't
It's a great position to be in.
yeah,
But
do
it,
not get me wrong. Sorry to interrupt. Do not
no,
get
you're
me wrong. Uh like, I could not ask for a better job. Like,
mhm.
no way in hell could I ever ask for a better job. But it doesn't pay quite as much as a lot of people think.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about like okay, taking a day off when you're sick when you work for Burger King is not the same thing as taking a day off when you're sick when you stream because and I know this because I've helped get streamers off the ground. I've helped people with marketing and design stuff. But
Mhm.
like if you miss a couple days, that hurts you. And
It does.
if you have a good community, the community comes back, but there's a portion of the audience that isn't they're community adjacent, right? No matter how hard you try to capture them, they don't interact with you in the ways that you would want them to. Case in point, we're recording this in the Speed Docs Discord, right? There's probably like a little over 200, 300 people in here. A lot
Mhm.
of them are people that we've worked with that are friends of ours at this point because we've worked with them or they've been on the show or They're in the marathons that we do. They interact with us in some way. Right? And this is what represents the Speed Dogs community. But the YouTube channel has tens of thousands of views on it, right? We have over 1 million views for the channel as a whole. Not on one video, mind you, but just as an aggregate. Those people, you can't get them off of YouTube. We put out a video where we're like, join the Discord. It got 10,000 views, 4 people joined. the percentage of people that are willing to do something off of YouTube is really low. And if we don't put a video out like clockwork, like we feel it. We really do. So I totally understand where it's like, it's hard to be able to be in a position where it's like, hey, we're going to take a couple days off. I say this on the precipice of you taking a few days off.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. No, I'm joking. But like, I think an important thing to note is that it is a balance. It's always a balance, and I've taken steps that I need to, I think, over the past few years to sort of balance the grind, as a lot of people call it, with my own mental health. And that's super, super important. That's way more important than a lot of people give credit for. And that's why I'm completely fine. I'm completely fine with taking a vacation right now.
Hey, listen. There are people that work a 9 to 5 that have a hard time taking vacations. So bravo to you for being in that place where you can do that. That's great. I am interested in the overall conversation about mental health and speedrunning because I see people burn themselves out. And we talked about this off air too, a couple days ago. But it's because people people have a hard time asking people for what they need. Like, hey, I need to do this. I can't do it. I need sleep. I gotta sleep. Or, hey, I can't stream tonight, or I can't do this grind. I can't do this thing I told you I was going to do because I need to do something else for me, right? I have to do this.
Yeah.
And there's such a hard balance there because especially with speedrunners who are like, so like the whole hobby is about going fast, right? And it's like, you don't have to run yourself down. I think that's a very important thing that kind of gets, I don't know if lost, but not appreciated for as important as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're definitely right about that. Because I remember like last week when I asked to reschedule this recording, it was right in the middle of GDQ week. I remember, and Amber and I had just done our 2-player 1 controller Sonic 3D Blast beat the game speedrun for GDQ, and I had to flip my sleep schedule for that. And I was gone. I think I stayed up. I was not intentionally, but I was up for like 36 straight hours at that point, and I was like, "Hey, CJ, can we reschedule?"
Yeah,
please. And yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you being flexible with that. But yeah, you're absolutely right about just, I don't know, taking breaks. Like, speedrunning is about going fast, but sometimes you have to slow down.
Yeah, I mean, that'll break the internet. Slow down and go fast. But it is true. It's just like, don't run yourself, because if you can't help yourself, you can't help other people. Right? Why do you put your mask on first in the event of a crash if you're on the airplane? Because you can't help anybody if you're passed out.
Yeah.
Right? So put your mask on first, take care of yourself first, then you're able to help other people. I think people really like the spoons. I never got the spoons, and the spoons never bit me. But that's an analogy that resonates with people. So it's like, don't give out all your spoons.
Yep, that resonates with me personally. Actually, spoon theory.
Yeah, like, hey, listen, I know that it resonates with people. I totally get it. Like, sometimes there are just some metaphors that I'm like, hey, listen, I'm glad it helps.
That's perfectly fine.
I imagine, like, there's some like explanations for things that I'll never like sad, like I'll never listen to them again. I'll never use them again. And the number one example in a speedrun context is I will never listen to someone explain frame rules to me ever again. Because if I got to hear about the fucking bus one more goddamn time, I am gonna flip. You did bring that up. You did do that 2P1C controller run with
Yes.
Amber.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That it was like last week, but that was really cool. Talk to me about that.
It's a really fun run. Yeah. And Amber carried, by the way. Amber carried our run big time in both control and commentary, because Amber was on joystick for that, like on the movement, and obviously they did a really great job, but movement is everything in that game. And I was just there jumping and rolling around, like I have the easier job on the buttons. So, but still, it's a really fun run, and it's a good spectacle to put on for people to enjoy. And it helps that Amber basically taught me 3D blasts like back in early 2019. So like we both have very similar strats and similar ways of going about things. So we're very much a hive mind.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's pretty cool. I have never been involved with a partner who was into video games, period, let alone speedrunning. So that's kind of cool that you kind of have that like shared hobby. It's
really
kind of
awesome.
unique. It's unique in a lot of ways too.
Like it's certainly one thing to have a partner who's supportive of what you do, never mind one who also does the same thing. Like that's just we both feel very fortunate about that. We're both extremely lucky to have found each other.
I remember it was when I started speedrunning. I've told this on the podcast a million times. I started with Mario Party 3. It's a 6-hour run, blah, blah, blah. It's really fucking long. And I remember I had a run that was 20 minutes ahead of my PB. Was going to be like third, I was counting my chickens a little too early. It was like second or third. It would have been second or third on the leaderboard. And I remember the run fell apart because so basically between every party board on Mario Party 3, there's a dual map. And the dual map can go really fast. It can be like a minute. I think the shortest it can be is like a minute and 10 seconds. You can instantly clap them, and there's no time limit. Or you can draw it out, and it takes forever, and you can lose. And if you lose, you have to do it again. Or if you save every turn, you can reset the turn. I lost my entire time save. I lost 20 minutes of time save in a 6-hour run.
Ugh.
And then I remember I ended stream. And then I was going to go meet my girlfriend at the time. And she's like, she could tell something was wrong. She's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm not trying to be distant, emotionally distant, but I don't think I have what it takes to explain to you what actually is wrong. Like, I just can't explain that I spent 6 hours playing a game and lost. And now it's done, Because, she's like, why don't you just try again? It's like, oh, you don't understand. I can't.
Yeah.
It's like such a weird problem to have, but we're like in the line to see the movie, get the popcorn or whatever, and she's like, "What? Talk to me." I'm like, "I can't. You don't. You don't know." Jeez. I
feel that though. Totally feel that.
You have that. Sorry. You have that connection. You have.
Yeah, exactly.
Never let that go to waste. You did let the run die.
Yeah.
And Amber's like, "It's okay. You'll get him next time, champ."
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I did want to wrap up. Was there anything that you wanted to say before we wrapped up?
Thank you for having me. Honestly, like this has been a nice conversation. I definitely really appreciate you having me on. And again, sorry I was so hard to get a hold of. It was even harder than I thought originally.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Ah, man, this was a good time. It was worth the wait, as they say. If you want to follow my guests from today's episode, you can check them out on speedrun.com. You can check out their user profile. That's speedrun.com/user/TGH, all one word. That's speedrun.com/user/TGH. On YouTube, type in TGH. There you go. Easy
Yep.
clamp.
Yep.
Twitch.tv/TGH_SR. That's TGH, all one word, _SR. And on Twitter, using the same handle, twitter.com/TGH_SR. That's at TGH, all one word, _SR. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who supports the show. I would never ask you to do anything you wouldn't normally do. Just listen to the show. That's all I want you to do. I don't want you to share. You don't have to do anything else. Just listen and enjoy the show. As long as we keep doing that, we can stay free and clear of the algorithm. We can make the decisions we want to make and talk to the people that you want to hear from. This will be the final weekend of Speed Doxathon 2021. Maybe you'll see Jay. Huh? Maybe you won't. Maybe you already missed them, but you can check out the VOD at twitch.tv/speeddocs, SPEEDDOCS. That's twitch.tv/speeddocs. Check out the schedule. The Hararo schedule link will be linked on the SRC page. That's speedrun.com/SDAT, SDAT2021. That's speedrun.com/SDAT 2021. Again, thank you to everyone for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. And we will be back next week with a post-SDAT episode. I'm hopeful maybe something funny will happen. We'll get a clip show out of it. Otherwise, we'll be back with another great guest next week. And thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.